The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And a happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners, no matter where you are around this great big world of ours. I hope that everybody had their fill of turkey, ham, and all the fixings that we have when we sit down with our families and our loved ones every Thanksgiving evening. And give thanks to the people that we have in our life, the people that we love, the people that we've loved and lost. And remember the good times of life and be thankful for each and every day that we wake up on the right side of the grass. And in these very busy days and hectic days, we just don't stop to smell the roses and to really take notice of what we care for, at the people who've influenced our lives in positive ways, to the people who make our life what it is today. In my case, my wife, 6 children, 15 grandchildren, my dad who lives in Montreal, God bless him, he's 95 this year, and each and every member of the X Zone Nation, because it's because of you and what you bring to my life that we've been on air now for 33 years. So I'm thankful not only for my family, my friends, but each and every member of you, the X Zone Nation. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network on channel 54. That's the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. This is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And I come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So welcome one and all, and once again, happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners and viewers. X Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Alicia McBride, and Alicia is an empath. She is a psychic. She has a few ghost stories. In fact, she has a ghost in her attic. Alicia, thank you very much for joining us, and to you and your family from this side of the north border, across the big lake from Pennsylvania. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
Thank you, Rob. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thanks for having me on here. This is great.
It's my great pleasure, Alicia. Alicia, tell our listeners and our viewers and the members of the X Zone Nation a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm an empathic author and healer. I'm an empath. I feel everything. I have all the clairs. My psychic gifts are small. They are not big. They are small, but I connect very easily with spirits.
Mm-hmm.
In my daytime job, I help empaths and sensitive people learn to manage their emotions and experience relief from overwhelm and exhaustion. And for the rest of the time, I talk to people who aren't actually here.
Okay, so are you
Yeah.
talking about those departed who have gone to the other side?
Yeah.
Now, how old were you when you started this?
I think I was 12-ish, somewhere around 12. I saw my very first spirit apparition, which apparently is uncommon, to see a whole person.
Full-figured apparition, yeah.
Yeah, looking like a person. And it scared the crap out of me.
I don't doubt it.
It did. I was sitting at my kitchen table. I was 12. I was doing my homework.
Mm-hmm.
And I was by myself in the house, and I thought my mom walked in, and I looked up and I said, "Oh, hey, I didn't hear the garage door open. I didn't hear you come in." And I watched her disappear in front of my eyes, and I was freaked out. I was completely freaked out.
I guess.
I called my mom, my actual
Right.
mom, at work, and she was in fact still at work. And I was just a mess on the phone. I was a mess. But she was nice, she helped me through, and she did not come home right away like I asked her to, but it was fine. And it dialed it back a little bit from there. I think when you have, a kind of a big first experience, it's a little scary, and you put that like kind of scared vibe out there. So then it toned down for a little while and then came back over the years. Um, it- People talk to me in dreams. Um, I would catch like lights out of the corner of my eyes. Um, Sometimes I would just feel something there. Um, and it started more and more like that. And then a few years ago, I went through a spiritual awakening, and everything was just blown wide open. I was seeing spirits everywhere. Um, like I frequently in my bathroom. Like, I don't know why they come to my bathroom.
Well, that's another topic for another show, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was seeing spirits of animals. I was seeing spirits of people. And it was crazy. There was just so much coming at me. I actually asked them to back off at that point because I was like, I am
I guess.
overwhelmed. Let's come in one at a time. um, so that was a very interesting experience for
I
me.
guess.
A lot of my friends thought I was crazy. So that happens.
So what kind of spiritual awakening did you have? What prompted the awakening?
Um, I was pregnant with my second son when it started to happen.
Right.
And he's also an empath and a healer. And I think, just kind of him being in my body and our energies together, it like kick-started something inside of
Mm,
me. And I opened up to it and I was ready. I don't think that spiritual awakenings happen before you're ready or before you're ready
yeah.
enough, because, I would have said, I'm not ready for anything.
Mhm.
But I actually was ready. And it was crazy. Like I said, everything happened to me all at the same time, which is, again, interesting. Because for a lot of people, it just kind of trickles in, one thing and then another thing and another thing, but not for me. And that's kind of my personality. It's kind of the way things happen for me in my general life. Everything all at once. So I had to sort through that and figure it all out all at the same time. It was a very interesting experience. I had a lot of help from other healers.
Mhm.
I went through a lot of healing with different Reiki practitioners. Um, I saw some psychics. I did a little bit of all the healing. Um, I participated in groups, and it was fantastic. I think community is a great big help when people can know what you're talking about or understand or at least be sympathetic, like even if they haven't experienced the same exact thing as you. I think it's really important to have community with like-minded people, because otherwise you're stuck with those friends who think you're nuts.
Yeah. At age 12, when you had your first experience, was anyone else in your family gifted like you are?
Not that I was aware of,
No,
or
right?
not that I'm still aware of, little bits here and there, but nothing that pronounced.
And today, when you look back, did you have any idea that you would be doing the work that you're doing today when you were that young age of 12 years old and you had your first encounter of a spooky kind?
No,
No
absolutely
way.
not. Absolutely not. If you'd have told me I would have been an author and doing interviews, and seeing spirits, no, no, I would not have believed you. I was
Before we go any further, I see a couple of books behind you. What's that top one say?
so
Do I see your name up there?
Yes. So the top one is The Empath Effect: Powerful Stories of Love, Courage, and Transformation.
Hmm.
It's a collaborative book full of 22 empaths telling their story. The
Ooh.
story, what their life looked like before they found out they were an empath, what
Mhm.
their life looked like during, and then afterwards, now, what it looks like now. And it's a beautiful transformation. Um, I think everybody shares something very unique. There are no two stories that are
Right.
even similar. Everybody has a very unique perspective, and I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
So let me ask you the question. What was your life like before you became an empath?
It was a hot mess.
A hot mess.
And it's not before that I became an empath. It was before that I was aware that I'm an empath. Because
I stand corrected.
I think you're always, you're born this way. You're born this way. I mean, people told me my whole life that I was too sensitive, that I was, I needed to toughen up and I needed to grow thicker skin. And no,
No, of course not.
no.
Why should I don't understand people who tell other people that they're too sensitive, because in my opinion, people who call people too sensitive are people who wear a mask and they wear armor because they too are sensitive. They just don't want to admit it.
Or you're too rough. I mean, don't call me too sensitive. Maybe you're too rough.
That's right.
That you should just be who you are, no matter who that is. And if that's sensitive, if that's callous, then be that way. But I don't think you're right. I don't think everybody is like that.
That's right.
I think a lot of those people who are tough on the outside have a really soft interior.
Mind you, there has to be a reason why they pretend to be so tough, right?
Yeah.
You and I have to take our first break, Alicia. Thank you so much for joining us today at Next Nation. If you'd like to find out more about our very special guest this first hour, her website is healinglightempath.com. And Alicia McBride and I will return after this very short, quick pause. Don't go away. Alicia McBride is my special guest, and her website is Exonation healinglightempath.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Alicia McBride author. In the notes you gave my producer, you said there was a ghost in your attic?
Yes, there was.
Please tell that story.
So I moved into this house about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And I went up into the attic to put some stuff up there, and I felt something, and I turned around, and there he was. And this ghost was super awesome. he was so much fun. He had a great personality, a great sense of humor, and his energy was very earthly. He felt very old. Like his spirit had been here a very long time. He actually told me that he built that part of the floor in the attic. And I know, I talked to previous owners of this house. This house was built in the 1800s. And I know that pieces of it came from another house. So they, back then they reused building materials.
Right.
So I don't know if he was attached to one of the pieces that came from the other house, or if he was kind of attached to, the piece that he built in this house. I don't know that. But I do know that he built that section of flooring upstairs. And his energy was very earthly, which struck me as odd at first, because normally a spirit, especially one that's so old, has a much lighter energy, and it's less attached. So I figured out that he hadn't crossed over.
Right.
And I, spirits that haven't crossed over, they're the ones that cause trouble. They're the troublemakers. So I said, I don't want any trouble here. But you need to cross over, and then you can come back. You're welcome to hang out in this attic if this is really if this is where you want to be, and this is what you want to do, that's fine. I'm happy to have you here. You're cool. I'm cool. We're good. But I can't have you here if you haven't crossed over. So you need to cross over and come back. And then he didn't understand that concept. And I was like, what do you mean you don't understand that concept? Just go. And then you can go anywhere. You don't
like, what don't you understand? You're dead. Damn it. You're dead. Yeah.
So it took him a bit. And I said, you can come back not only to here, but to any time, anywhere. You can go anywhere. And instantly, as soon as I said that to him, I had a picture in my head of him and a woman in a field. It was this beautiful field, green grass, little flowers, open background, wide, huge field. And he showed me this picture, and I said, what are you doing here? Go to her. Yeah, go to her. So I'm getting chills just remembering that. And he's fabulous. So he did. He crossed over, and I believe he went to her. He came back in to essentially say goodbye. He waved his little goodbye later.
Right.
It was not at that time. He came back in later and said goodbye to me. And it was so nice. I've never had such, he was like a friend. You know what I mean? He was just, I very much enjoyed his energy. He had very positive energy, good. He was just like a friend, and he stopped in to say goodbye, and I believe he is hanging out with her now, whoever she is.
Has he ever come by to say hi to you?
Not since then. Nope. So we
No,
had
right?
our initial period where I was up and down the stairs to the attic a whole bunch, and I was talking to him, and we were getting to know each other a little bit. And then I told him he needed to cross over. You can't hang out here if you haven't crossed. And then he came back in later. It was a few days or a few weeks, however long later, he came back in to say goodbye. But I have not seen him since. I bet I could connect to his energy, though, because his energy was very memorable. So I could probably check in and be like, hey.
Why is it that some spirits cross and some spirits stay? And before we go any further, is there a difference between a ghost and a spirit?
Well, I would use those words interchangeably.
Okay.
I bet a lot of people have different opinions, but for me, I would use them interchangeably. Okay. But for him specifically, he was very attached to that part of the house. So he may have died there. So he may have gotten kind of stuck, died suddenly in the building of the house, and he was very attached to that piece for whatever reason. So I think if a spirit or ghost has a traumatic death, and they're kind of confused, and initially maybe they don't understand that they're dead. I mean, this guy had to have known he was dead. It has been hundreds of years. He had to have known. But I think kind of like in The Sixth Sense, he didn't know he was dead. Spoiler alert. He didn't know he was dead. I'm dating myself. It's fine. And I think sometimes you get stuck because you don't understand what happened, or it was very traumatic. I'm sure that, again, there are lots of other reasons, but I think those for me are the biggest ones.
I understand that you still help people to cross over, or spirits to cross over. Do they go willingly at times, or do they all give you that little bit of, I don't want to go. I'm happy where I am. Why should I go somewhere else where I don't know where I'm going? I won't feel comfortable. What kind of resistance, if any, do you get?
So the unknown is scary,
Yeah.
even when you're dead. I mean, the
I
unknown is scary. So it's been a mix so far. Some of them have crossed, or they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go. Whenever I see an animal on the side of the road that has gotten hit, I always reach out to them. I send them energy, and if they haven't crossed, I help them cross. And if they have crossed, I just send them a little energy, additional. So for those, I mean, they go immediately. A lot of them like turn around and thank me in some kind of wave or a nod or something, and then they go on their merry way. People spirits are a little more difficult. They don't always go as easily. Sometimes I have to argue with them a little bit, and sometimes you have to get pushy. My friend had a spirit in her house, and she's a little leery of spirits. I've talked her through it a little bit, and I said, they see her son. Her son has a huge light to him. He's very bright, and spirits can see your light. So if you have a very bright aura, you have a lot of light around you, spirits are going to be attracted to you. And so her son is very bright, and he just collects spirits because they can see him, and they know that he can see them. So she keeps asking me to take spirits out of her house. And there was one recently he was sad to leave. Like he didn't want to go. He was sad to leave. And I said, well, she's uncomfortable with you there. And, you just have to move on. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I would imagine that the light that you emanate to spirits, and this young gentleman did, is like a lighthouse, a welcoming light where they know that they can go and be seen and be heard. So it must be very, comforting when they're able to communicate with someone on this side of the veil.
Yeah, I think sometimes they just need someone to listen to them, or, to sit with them for a few minutes. I can't communicate with all of them. There was when I first moved into the house, there was a woman who stayed by the end of my bed. She was there all the time. I haven't checked on her in a while. I don't know. I don't think she's still there. I think she did, move on, but she was there, especially in the beginning, all the time. And I just left her alone. Like I sat with her, and, I was just kind of with her for a little bit. And she never said anything to me, or that I could hear or understand in any way. Like I said, I can't always hear them or understand them. But it was just comforting, to kind of be with her for a little bit.
Has there ever been a time when you've been helping a spirit to cross where you felt that you might be putting yourself in an awkward position? No,
not so far, knock on wood. No, it's been a little crazy sometimes. I've closed portals, and that gets weird. Because portals bring in energies from like other dimensions and other realms and other places. And that it feels weird to me. Like I don't vibe with that energy. And I do it because it needs to be done. And for a while, I was able to see them and not close them. So I was actually reaching out from another woman from Canada, and she was helping me close them. She actually helped me close 2 of them before I was able to do it on my own.
Well, why don't we take a little break here so we can talk about portals in depth, because I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this. Alicia, thanks very much for joining us tonight. And to all our Canadian listeners, no matter where you are around the world, happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you and your families enjoy peace, love, harmony, and that everyone drives home safe if you're not at home. Alicia McBride is my special guest, Exo Nation, and we'll return right after this short break. Don't go away.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And welcome back, everyone. Alicia McBride is our guest. HealingLightEmpath.com is her website. All right, tell me about portholes. How do they fit into this entire spiritual, ghostly moving over in the attic or wherever it happens? Are these portholes from this dimension to another dimension, or from, how does it work?
I believe they are from this dimension to another dimension, or another place in
Mhm.
time, or somewhere else that is not here.
Right.
They're kind of creepy. They, like I said earlier, their energy I don't vibe with it. I don't like it. It agitates me. Like you can see me getting agitated. I don't vibe with that energy very often. It weirds me out a little bit, and I don't quite know why. Maybe it's just because it's from another time and place, from another dimension. It's not from here, and I'm not used to it. Maybe it's because it gives me that push to close it immediately. I'm like, no, thank you. You don't need to be here. And often I see them as like sewer grates. So like the big manhole covers.
Okay.
That's how I saw one of them. Actually, in my kid's bedroom. That was creepy. I saw like a big manhole cover in the floor. That was weird. The first portal I saw though was near my bed, like in the air, in midair. And it was very large and flowy and oval shaped. It was very interesting looking. It was very unique. Darker in the middle, lighter on the outsides. Cool looking, but I knew it shouldn't be there. No thanks.
Is this porthole like the tunnel that people report seeing with near-death experiences, the tunnel that they see their past lives and so on and so forth? Do you have any idea what the inner structure of this porthole looks like?
Nope.
Or is it just a darkness?
For me, it's just dark. And I think, in my opinion, I think portals are different than that light that you're seeing in your death experience, or when you experience past lives. I think that's very different. The portal leads somewhere else. And if you're like, for me anyway, when I've experienced past lives, I've remained in my body. I've not gone anywhere else.
Right.
And I can connect to them that way. But the portal is dark and creepy. The light at the end of the tunnel, that's, bright and positive.
Right.
It feels different. It's a good vibration. It feels good.
You were saying that to close two of these portals, you've had help from another lady. How do you close it? And why did you need her help? Because I think from talking to you, you're quite capable of doing this yourself.
Well, now.
Now. I see. Okay. So tell us about this closing.
Yeah. So initially I couldn't do it at all. Well, initially I was like, what the heck is this? What is going on here? So I reached out to her and I said, hey, there's this thing in the middle of, like, in my room, in the middle of the air. It to me feels like it would be a portal. She's like, oh yeah, it's a portal, definitely. And she closed it for me. She then closed another one for me that popped up in my aunt and uncle's house, actually. And then after that, I was like, okay, if I'm going to keep seeing portals, I need to learn how to close them. So honestly, I just figured it out. Like with a little bit of talking to her, and I don't even think I did much Googling. And I normally Google everything, but I sat inside and, I closed my eyes and I said, okay, spirit, tell me how to close this portal. Like, show me how to do it. And the first portal I closed was that like manhole cover looking thing. I drug a larger manhole cover. I'm like visualizing this. I'm dragging this large manhole cover on top of the portal. And then I put all kinds of like protections. I'm sure I didn't do it right the first time.
Well, obviously it must have worked that you closed it. Yeah.
It worked, but it probably wasn't pretty. But it did its job, and eventually it dissipated and it went away. But now it's kind of connecting energetically with the portal and, seeing it close and asking any of the beings that came out to go back in. That gets tricky when they don't want to go, especially because they're not from here. That's when you have to be really pushy and say, no, you don't belong here. You need to go back through. I'm not going to let you run amok in my friend's house.
How do people know if they have one of these portals in their houses?
You feel it. Like if you weren't aware, you wouldn't understand what's going on. You would kind of feel weird. Things would go awry frequently in your house. Maybe stuff is moved around that you didn't expect to be moved around, or maybe your electric flicks on and off a lot, but there's nothing wrong with your electricity, or like the oven timer always goes off at random times that you didn't set. Like just kind of weird things happen in your house. I would say that's a good indicator if you can't actually feel it and you're not fully aware. There's just something that's off. Just feels wrong.
So people would get this negative feeling. They don't know where it's coming from or why strange and unusual things are happening.
Yeah, I'd say there's a good chance there's a portal nearby.
Are children more susceptible to the spirit world than adults?
I think they can see them a lot easier because they're more open. They haven't been shut down yet. They haven't been told by the rest of the world that that's weird. And I don't think that's weird. And I am like the first person to say you're not too sensitive and you're not weird and there's nothing wrong with you. But that's not what a lot of other people will say. So, for kids, they just haven't been told that that's different.
Yeah. So, I understand that you help sensitives and empaths to learn to, manage their feelings.
Yeah. So when you're an empath, especially when you're an unaware empath, you don't know what's going on. You're overwhelmed, you're exhausted, you're probably depressed and you're anxious. And you don't know what's going on and everything's coming at you all at once. You have absolutely no idea that you've been collecting energy from everyone else and from everything else. You don't know that you've been doing that. So you're completely just overwhelmed, exhausted, and drained. Chronic fatigue is another very common ailment for empaths.
Really?
Yeah. Chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, fibromyalgia. Like you just don't know where the pain is coming from because it's everywhere. Well, you're collecting the energy from everybody else and you don't know you've been doing it, and you've been doing it. Maybe you're 55 years old and you've been doing it for 55 years and it's all on you. So I help you get it away.
Basically what you're doing is helping the person defrag like we do with computers.
Yes.
To get everything back in order, right?
Yeah.
How do you protect yourself? I know there's some psychics that do special prayers. I know some paranormal investigators who have some different rituals for protecting themselves before and after. Afterwards they cleanse themselves. How do you take care of yourself?
So I vibe with visualizations and meditations. So that's my favorite. I'm super visual.
Mhm.
I connect easily with energy. So that's what I do. I connect with my own energy. I ground and protect. Like that's, I feel too much. That's the first step. Ground and protect your energy. I ground, connect to the earth, bring the energy up and over me. And I put up a barrier between me and everything else because I love you, but I don't want to keep your energy.
Right, I understand that. Yeah. So basically, it's taking control of the situation at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. Another way to do it is to stay in your own space, which is uncomfortable for me to do, but I'm getting better at it. So you just, because my energy wants to be out here and it's nosy and it wants to be over here and it wants to check in on you and say, what are you doing? What's life like over there?
Has anybody ever answered you that question? What's life like over there? Or what's existence like? And what do they say?
It's usually a vibe or a feeling, and it's positive or negative, or just kind of a general feeling or emotion that comes through.
Wow. Yeah. It's can anyone learn to be an empath or sensitive, or do they have to be born with it?
So I think anybody can learn how to be empathetic. So empathetic is different from empathic. You can learn empathy, but I don't think you can learn how to be an empath. I think you have to be born that way. Like an empath is super sensitive, or you can be highly sensitive. There's a highly sensitive person, HSP. So 1 to 3% of the population are empaths and 5 to 7% are highly sensitive people. I think those percentages are actually small. I think they need to be a lot bigger because people are just unaware. You just don't know that you're an empath or sensitive person. But I think you can be taught empathy. You can feel for someone. You can understand their situation. But to actually feel the situation as if you were experiencing it, like I can feel your pain inside of my body. That's uncomfortable. So I don't think you can be taught that. I think that foundation needs to be there already.
With all the electronic gizmos that we use these days, the microwave, the 5G towers, and the Blu-rays, what have you, how does this affect you as an empath or sensitive?
I think that that's part of the grounding and protecting you. When you're protecting yourself from other people's energy, you're also protecting yourself from all that energy, like of the electronic devices. So for me, grounding and protecting is super important. Like when you're an unaware empath, you've got to do this every day, multiple times a day. You need to be on top of grounding and protecting because it's just so overwhelming. So you're also protecting yourself from all of that electronic noise too.
I would imagine you have to have an on-off switch because let's say you go to a train station or you're going to the local mall, you have all these people with all these different emotions. It must be hectic on you.
It was before, not now. Now I can, be free and walk freely into a very crowded, loud space. Before, large crowds used to really bother me. I'd never go to a big concert or, a really loud venue. That used to bother me a lot before, but now it's okay because I've done it so much. I've done the healing. I've, gone through the process.
Right.
So there's happy life on the other side of all of that. Like you don't have to hide under your pillow all the time.
Alicia, you and I have to take our final break. Please stand by. Exonation, when we come back, we'll be wrapping up this hour with our special guest, Alicia McBride, and her website is healinglightempath.com. And Alicia, where are your books available?
They are available on Amazon.
There we go, Exonation. Alicia and I will be back. Don't go away. And once again, we are back with you. Alicia McBride is my special guest. Her website is, Alicia, tell the people your website.
HealingLightEmpath.com.
All right. And before we get back to our special guest, just a reminder that here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, we have Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka at www.missionevolution.org. And Kevin Randall, the UFO chaser himself, the guy who knows more about Roswell, New Mexico than the aliens do. He has his own show that is with us right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. It's called A Different Perspective. And for more information on Kevin, visit him at kevinrandall.blogspot.com. And for more information on Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit missionevolution.org. First of all, before we go any further, Alicia, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Great talking to you. Has there ever been a time since you've been doing this on a full-time basis where you've encountered something that's had the hair on the back of your neck stand up, the hair on the arms, and you're saying, what the heck am I doing this for?
Yes, actually. So there was a spirit in my house. I was walking down the hallway towards my kid's bedroom, and he came out of the doorway of my kid's bedroom, and he scared me on purpose. Like it was that typical, he jumped out at me and he scared me, and he's like kind of creepy looking. And I I stepped back, I jumped back. I was like, I was totally startled, thrown off. He scared the crap out of me. And I went into my bedroom and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I was like, okay, he's got to be here for a purpose. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to ask him, let's be sensible about this. So I had my minute to totally freak out. And then I said, okay, let's be sensible about this. I will connect with him, and I'm going to do it from my bedroom. I'm not going to walk over there and connect with him. I'm going to stay here and I will virtually connect with him. And so I did. I connected with him and I asked him, what are you doing here? How's it going? Why are you here? And this guy apparently had a huge sense of humor, and he scared me on purpose. He thought it was funny.
You gotta be kidding. Go for a sense of humor. What the heck?
What? Oh no, he can't do that to me. I was totally freaked out. It worked. He scared me. But then after I connected with him, we chatted a little bit, and I found out he was okay. And I was like, all right, well, I had this problem spot, right near my kid's bedroom. There was a portal right over right past the doorway. And there's an area right outside their bedroom door that's just kind of funny. It is, I don't like the energy there. I have a ton of crystals there. I have a ton of crystals sitting there. So, after talking to this guy, I said, all right, well, if you want to stay and hang out and guard my kid's bedroom door, that's cool. You're allowed to do that. That's fine. And you can scare anything else that comes in here that is not me, my children, or anybody that I've invited into this house.
And did he go for it?
He did. I don't think he's there anymore. Again, I haven't connected to him in a little while. But he did. He stayed. I felt his presence there for at least a month.
So most people have watchdogs. You've got to watch spirit.
I do.
Yeah, cool. Can these spirits hurt somebody or cause them harm physically? I mean,
it depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you.
So I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think spirits can be suggestive, especially the ones that haven't crossed over. They wreak havoc. Can they throw stuff on the floor? Yeah, probably. Can they send your books flying off the bookshelf? Probably. But are they going to harm you? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, with the amount of spirits that I've connected with, I would say probably not. It's very unlikely that somebody's going to really try to hurt you. And if they are trying to hurt you, it's certainly not a positive spirit, and you need to get rid of them immediately. Like they need to go.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Alicia, we've run out of time for tonight. I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. Love to have you back in the future.
Yes, thank you.
And just keep what you're doing, because it sounds like you're helping a lot of people solve a lot of unsolved mysteries in their lives, and people need people.
That's right.
Let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and where they can buy your books.
Thank you so much. I'm Alicia McBride, empathic author and healer, and you can find me at healinglightempath.com. My books are available on Amazon and Books A Million and healinglightempath.com.
Alicia, thanks again, and take care of yourself, and happy Thanksgiving from Canada.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye now. Exonation, my guest was Alicia McBride, and once again, her website, healinglightempath.com. That's it for this portion of the X-Zone. I will be back at the top of the hour as we continue talking about the strange, the bizarre, the weird, and sometimes the more serious matters of life. In the next hour, we're going to be talking about police officers, PTSD, and much more. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Take care of each other.